All right, hey, I'm RJ Symalla, product manager for Pallmann. We're here at Floor Mechanics today, talking about what is going to be, I think, a primary topic for 2024. Quote unquote alternative stains or new versions of stains. A lot of manufacturers are finally talking about this. Anybody who's been around a couple years, we've had our product now for a couple years. We're really proud of it. It's called Pall-X 2-Kolorit. It's a stain and sealer system in one. Comes packaged like this because it is a two-component product to guarantee the dry times. So every kit will come with the primary color in a liter size. These are going to do between 300 and 500 square foot per liter. They all come with a mixing ratio cup because we are a two-component. So we're adding our drying agent at a 5-to-1 ratio. So everyone comes with the kit, so you don't have to go look for that. And once we're mixed together, we've got about a 2-hour pot life to work with. And once we show you the demo on the floor, you'll see some of the other advantages to this. Been working on this project for over 10 years. This is some hard stuff to do. And basically, our tagline is this is the stain that's better in every way. We haven't found something in a different stain that we would take over this one. The color saturation is perfect. The ease of use is off the charts. The most important thing to me personally is that we're 5 VOCs in this can, so very safe to use. It's skin contact safe. It will color your fingernails and your cuticles, but it will not absorb into your skin at all. And the other big benefit is financial on this side, in that we're going with this and 2 coats of finish, so we're going to save you a step and a coat of product, because Pallmann is a very sealer-centric company. We've always said use a different company's stain, put a sealer on top of that, and then 2 coats of finish, because we never believe them to be a true sealer. This is actually our best sealer in our line. It just happens to be colored like stains.
I like it.
All right, so let's get ready to apply some. We've got a red oak panel here. We're going to put down our antique brown color. It comes in a clasped can. Cut the tab off, and then these lids can be really hard to get off with gloves on. Straight bladed screwdriver, but this lip will also work if you just put this in between the two and pry up. You can get the lid off that way. So the best stir stick on the market for this can. So you do have to reach down. The pigment will separate. So stir component A together very well. Again, we are a 2-component system. We're going to mix out a 5-to-1 ratio in the mixing cup that comes in every kit. This can will do between 300 and 500 square feet, depending on species and sanding preparation. A water popped red oak like this, we've been very consistent at about 400 square feet, right in the middle of that. And the mixing can has gradient lines for component A and component B at 4 different amounts. So you can scale for that last part, not mix 2 together and then have to throw some product away. You can get very accurate with it. So once you're incorporating, you're not picking up any more pigment off the bottom. Take your can. These are written so that the 5-to-1 is actually visible through, not on the same side. And so we go ahead and we'll pour in component A up to the line for the amount that we'll need here. This is a mild polyisocyanates, basically just a drying agent is what this is used for, to give us our guaranteed dry times. So on antique brown and any of the brown colors, we're going to be 5 hours to coat. For anything in the white line, we're going to be 12 hours to coat. So then we're going to add our drying agent up to the B line. This is not a great time to take a phone call. You do want to mix this together relatively quickly because there are chemical reactions actually happening. So don't let this sit for 5 minutes before you stir it. Give it a good stir. And now this product is ready to use. And got a 2-hour pot life here. Extremely, extremely hot conditions. Might be an hour pot life, but very, very tolerant once it's mixed together. I would say on large jobs, if you're, 1,200 square feet, batch your 3 to 4 colors together in a separate can, just because if you don't get them stirred up perfectly, you could have a color variance liter to liter. So stir and batch your component A together, then pour them out 1 liter at a time or however much square footage you want to harden here. Okay, so then at this point, we're ready to get started. We'll pour a little puddle over here. We're gonna let that sit as we do the rest of this, just to kind of show one of the big benefits is the forgiveness of this product. It is the easiest stain that I've ever put down. I've been doing this for 32 years now. This is the easiest stain I've ever used. Having said that, I do struggle with the word stain a little bit because this is our best sealer, happens to be colored like stains in this day and age. So my preferred method, it can be buffed on, it can be rolled. I've rolled it on and buffed it off. The trowel, the flexible stainless steel trowel, is the fastest and most effective way to do it. But in situations where, if you have a beveled edge or you have large knots, it can be buffed on. We've rolled it on and buffed it off. You can rag it on and rag it off for staircases and stuff like that. But ultimately, we want to get the product on the floor. Sometime within the next hour, we're going to take it back off. So we'll come out here. And then another feature to this product is it's a completely water compatible natural oil. So this floor has been water popped, so we'll put some more water down here, and without letting that dry, we'll go right through that during the demo here. So we'll take this, we're gonna pour some out on the floor. We'll move that back like that. And then again, blade side out, you can adjust the flexibility of these as much as you want. This one has obviously been well used over the years. I still don't super care for the sound it makes, but if your floor is clean, there's no issue with this, and it's just the fastest way to apply it. So we're gonna move it around. You can bring it up, cut in close to your baseboards, like that. I always keep a rag with me, so when I get extra oil on the back of my trowel, I can wipe that off. So when I go up to a baseboard, I can be very clean with the back of the, or if you happen to get this on your hands and you get it on the handle, it gets a little slippery. So I always keep a clean rag with me just to keep the tools clean. Troweling, you don't have to apply a ton of pressure. It just is, you're not trying to leave huge puddles, and you're not trying to absolutely drive it as hard as you can. You're just lightly going over the floor just to move the product around fast and effective. With this product, we can miss some areas, you can leave some. We're gonna do 2 steps with a buffer once we get going. So here's our little spot of water that we had. I'm gonna add just a little bit of oil to the floor. And so how do you want this? So you can see, very dramatic, right? So we'll remember where that is. We'll put the product here. As this and the water dries, that spot's gonna disappear completely. It makes no sense to me doing this for all these years, but it is a water compatible oil. More than this case, where this comes into play is putting our water-based finishes on top of this product, because we don't technically need it to be dry. We need it to sit for 5 hours and coat it. So it is a water compatible oil system. So I'll back my way out of the room. We'll take a little bit of this puddle with me. We'll leave the rest of it there. We'll add a little bit of oil here, so when we do the buffing, we have enough to buff around. Okay. So just get it on the floor. It can be light, heavy, thick, thin. Just get it on the floor is all we need to do at that point. Now from here, sometime within the next hour to hour and a half, we're going to take this back off. Really, any way you want to take it off. If you got guys and they want to crawl around with rags into it, that's fine. I'm 58 years old. I like to stand up whenever possible, so I'm going to buff it. We're going to use kind of the traditional red pad first to grind it in, compress some of the grain rates that we had from water popping, and to help move it around. Then we're going to wipe down our edges, and then we'll double back and wipe pad it all off. At this point, cannot be overbuffed. It's not possible if you're using this system to take off more product than you need to. The only issue is you could leave some excess on the floor. So no worry about overbuffing it. So any regular 16-inch buffer, any normal wood buffer you have is fine. This is a small demo, so we're just going to go direct on the dry plate. I'll typically run a thin maroon pad with a U screen so that I can use both sides of my red pad and not get product on my dry plate. This is a small demo, so we're not going to have to flip this pad over and then get excess product on the dry plate. Okay, and again, this is a panel, so I'm going to be standing off the panel the whole time, but you'll be out walking in the product. And we were on a job site a couple months ago, 5,000 square feet of herringbone that we stained ebony, and one of the guys that was working with us walked through the stain, walked out across the whole floor. We didn't get to those footprints for over an hour, and they completely buffed away. But any of these style of footprints, you have so much time to work with the product, they're not going to be an issue. I was even a little nervous about those because it was a long time before we got there. It was ebony on herringbone. It was a very difficult situation, but they blended away completely. So was super happy about that. So first stage of buffing is we're physically just going to move the product around. Obviously, if we had baseboards here and everything, we would have cut this in right up to the baseboard, and we would be then running the buffer up to that point. So no special technique back and forth. You can go either direction with the grain or against the grain. It doesn't make any difference. Whichever way is easiest for the buffer to fit is totally fine, because we're not going to rely on this for any kind of sheen or anything. We're just trying to make it even. So whichever way is easiest. And so here we've got some swirls, we've got some little slings. It's all totally appropriate at this point, no issue. We're just trying to make it more even than the troweling, drive it into the grain, and again, take off a little bit of that grain raise that we had. And then, so once we're red padded around, so now again, at this point, this could now again sit for another half hour to an hour, depending on the layout of the house. You can also go directly back onto it with the white pad. There's no timing issues here. It can sit, it can come off immediately. It won't affect it either way. So we get to our last point here. Stop. Take our buffer back. And then in most, especially the penetrating oils, our magic oil and everybody else's oil, this circle is typically going to be very hot, and you do not want to let this sit for any dramatic period of time. I've let this circle sit for 45 minutes, had zero effect with this product. So I'm not saying to do that on a job site, but it's that forgiving. I've done demos like this, and I've asked the contractors, how long do you want to leave that there? They gave me a number. They said 45 minutes. We left it for 45 minutes. And it worked totally fine. So we're not going to have Heidi film this for 45 minutes. We're going to go ahead, wipe this back up. The main reason I wipe this up is just to not waste part of my white pad. So take it, wipe it up a little bit. And then now this side of the pad is, it's not totally used. It's just a small area. These do need to be treated like rags, and pads do need to be treated like a regular solvent-based stain. They are combustible. Flammable is not the right word. They are combustible. So treated with water or laid out individually to dry, and they'll be totally fine. So now we're going to switch to our white pad. At this point, if we were in a house, this is when I would crawl around the edges, and I would wipe up the edges with the rag. Just like that. Direction doesn't matter. We just need to even that product off the last inch that the buffer's not going to touch. So anywhere we want to go, again, a landing or something like that, do the whole thing with the rag. Trowel it on and wipe it off with the rag. Works completely fine. So we'd wipe up all our edges. We'd get done with that step. We'd come back with our white pad. Maybe someday somebody will invent a buffer that you don't have to lean down here to move it back and forth. And then we're going to white pad the product off. Again, direction doesn't matter because you're not going to create any sheen or anything. You just want to make it look even at this point. You can see how fast the buffer is moving back and forth until it gets saturated. This would be completely typical to how fast I'm going to be on a floor. That's done. That sits for 5 hours, put water-based finish on top of it, and it's over. So if Heidi wants to walk in, you can still see where this grain is popped from the water, but there's no discolorization. It's a water-compatible oil system. And you guys saw what it looked like when I troweled over it. It still accepted all the pigment and color, and it will accept water-based finish over that without issue. You won't see it at all. So that's antique brown on red oak.